Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I've got these fun little Therabands here because this morning I'm going to teach you 5 things that you can do with a Theraband. As I've mentioned lots and lots and lots of times, strength is easy. A lot of it is building neurological connection. A lot of it's building better control and coordination. And a big piece of it is the awarenesses that you gained in the earlier work that you've done with me. Like really understanding where the pelvis is in space, knowing the major articulating joint that is generating or supporting the movement, what joints are following along. You've got to keep the awareness that you've gained earlier on as you move into more loading. Okay, this is really, really important. Because a lot of people are coming to me and saying to me, what do I do now? How do I get stronger? I have this understanding of my body in space. How do I get stronger? Or they say to me, every time I load body weight or I add gym weight, I get hurt. So a big piece of this is you've got to remain aware of what's going on in your body in space. Sometimes people will think that what I'm about to do is not yoga. No, it absolutely is. To me, yoga is about asana. It's about sitting comfortably and still, yeah? This is really vital. So we can take asana, sitting comfortably and still, into anything that we do. And if you want to get stronger and you want to do it from what I like to call this foundation of ease, if you want ease to propel your surge, this is a way to do that. So I've got 2 Therabands here. The reason why I do is because the yellow one is a lot more stretchy. The green one's a little less stretchy. So this has got a lot more tension in it than this one does. And so you get to choose which kind of Theraband you want to use. You've just got to pay attention. What goes on in your jaw, what goes on in your breath, what are you feeling as you do this? All right. So the key here is these are both about the same length, which is about that long. That's the length I would like you to use. Okay? I'm going to use the green one. We're going to start on our back. We got 5 of these movements to do. They build off of things I have already taught you. Yeah? That's what makes them so great. You understand the movement, you know what's going on in your body, and now we just add a little bit of load. Okay? Here we go. So we're going to start on our backs. And you're going to be breathing. That's number 1, right? I want you to notice yourself where you are in space and how you've been with your day and how your day's been with you. And just take a moment and center yourself. Get a feeling of your breathing, of your body, where your feet are in space. And then we're going to take the ankle to the knee. Now remember, when we do this, it's the leg bone is generated the movement and the ankle is placed on the opposite knee. Yeah? So the pelvis, this is key. Because now if we're going to add load, we don't want to add load on top of compensation. So if you've just taken your ankle to your knee, but you've had to move your pelvis to do that, I would really question why you are going to follow along with me in the loading part of this, because you don't have the base foundation yet. That's where I would work first, okay? So I have to be really clear about that, because if you just want to add strength on top of a poor movement pattern, then that's what you're going to be doing, is adding strength on top of a poor movement pattern. And so I'll let you think about that and play with that, okay? So I'm going to place this Theraband around my leg, like so. I'm going to keep it nice and thick. And I might even put a bit of tension on it here. And now I'm going to start to move my leg into rotation here. And you'll see that I've got my hand at the front of my hip. So my rotators are the one that are doing the work. And my front of my hip is not working to press that leg out. I'm not pushing with my opposite foot. I'm not holding my jaw. I'm noticing if there's any strain that's increasing in my body as I move. I'm paying attention to all the things I was paying attention before when I was learning how to move my body better. The only difference is I've added load. Okay, great. Let's go to the other side. Easy, easy, easy movement. Remember, it's really tough to build strength when you don't have the underlying control and coordinating patterns, right? So that's what makes strength tough, yeah? What's easy is when you have the awareness and the coordinating patterns, when you've got those, when you understand those, when you feel that. And that's what all the previous 11 or 12 weeks have been about. So if you're joining me for the very, very, very first time, this is your first experience of me, you can watch and look, and if you don't have that awareness, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, please, 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 please scroll through this feed or go to my website. There's a video link on the homepage. Go scroll through all of those videos to get that, okay? Because I don't want you to build strength on poor patterning. That is not going to be a recipe for success. Okay, I've gone to the opposite side again. The first side where we started, this is number 2. I'm going to press my leg out, same components. Hip flexor is not firing in order to push that leg out. I'm pushing against that strap. I just want you to notice on the other side, your opposite side. So this is my left. My left side is also, that hip flexor is also quiet. So now I'm going to hold my leg out. Now I'm going to start to add a twist. Woohoo, baby. And the reason I go, woohoo, baby, is because now we're adding some complexity to the movement. There's more load here, so now our abdomen, namely mostly our obliques, is having to control us to move us into the twist. It's controlling the downward movement, so we're actually moving against gravity here. And those obliques, even our adductors, are helping to control the movement down. So again, watch to see if your hip flexors want to kick in. And if they do, then shorten up the movement, yeah? And we can go the opposite as well. So again, notice if your hip flexors want to kick in. Notice if there's any back pain or shoulder pain or rib issues or neck or jaw issues. If your eyes are getting tight and hard, those are all indications that the load may be too big. And this might be too much of an exercise for you right now. Switching sides. All right, let's take it. So you've got to be really honest with yourself when you start to move from basic awareness and mobility and gentle stability strengthening stuff that I've done in all the previous 11-ish or 12 weeks that I've been running these classes. You've got to maintain that awareness of what you're doing. Don't throw that out the window. Okay, great. Let that go. Okay, so now we're going into number 3. Okay, so you're going to take the strap and you're going to place it under your feet like this, okay? So now my feet are holding it and my arms are going to come up to the sky. And now here's what's tricky is I want to wrap the strap around my hands. But my palm is still flat. So I've just spun the Theraband around to anchor it around my hand. But my hand, let me show you this way. So I've wrapped it around my hand. Whoops. So that my palm is still open and easy, right? But my thumb can point out this way. So you just kind of have to fiddle with it. You kind of have to just kind of play around with how to get that without adding a bunch of tension. Yeah? Okay. 1 sec here. All right, good. I'm loving that you love this. Good. Perfect. I love it when people love it. That's great. Good feedback. And even when you don't love it, I'm open to hearing that too, honestly. Okay, so now we're going to go here. Okay, so now I've got my thumb tips are touching. Okay, so this, remember, pullovers. Arms are coming over the head. Now you've got to make sure the Theraband is long enough, or if I let my heels go, it's going to whip up, and we don't want that to happen. But you'll notice here, my arm bones, like my shoulder joint, that is the primary articulating joint. Yeah? I don't have to hold my ribs down like this to anticipate it, because I have the range, and I'm like, even if my ribs, say my ribs had to do this, like maybe my ribs started to do this here, that lets me know that the load or the mobility is not where it needs to be. So then I just move in the range that I do have, where I don't have to hold my ribs down. You can hear my voice hasn't changed, and I just easily move. Yeah? With more load. Okay, good. Lovely? Okay, now, that's why you need a big long strap. Okay, so now we're into number 4. And we're going to come into, I just had a brain fart. Hold on a sec. We're going to come here. We're going to take our hand, the strap this way, and bring the strap around the bottom of the feet. Try to make this as flat as you can. Okay, now, whoops, that's what you got to be careful about, hey? Okay, let's try that again. I was trying to get myself square to the video. This is one of these things about doing this live. You see all my mistakes. Okay, so here. So now I'm here, and now we're going to go from tabletop, and you got to keep your hands really firm on the floor with this one. As you can see here, that Theraband's going to whip. So you're going to move one leg back into plank. Yeah? I'm just going to come up a little bit further here. Just like this. Okay, now look, where is my articulating joint? I'm a little concerned about bringing my hand off the floor, but you can see it's my hip joint, my leg bone moving in the pelvis, right? It's right there. That's the primary articulating joint along with my knee. But what I'm not doing is I'm not kind of doing something like this, or I'm not doing this. I'm not moving my pelvis in a funky position. My primary driving force here is coming from the leg bone and the hip socket. Yeah? That's where we get to play. Now notice, you have to notice here, like some people are like, oh yeah, that's such an easy movement. But pay attention to what is actually going on in your body, right? What's going on in your body? Now, if you want to add to this, see how my opposite foot is also on the strap? You can also bring that back. Yeah? So if I press this one back, and then I press this one back. Yeah? Right? Now, what I'm not doing, everything I've taught you before, what I'm not doing is I'm not bracing first. I'm not doing this. Right? You can see that, right? I'm doing it, I'm exaggerating it so you really see it. Although for some people it might not be an exaggeration, because there are people who really kind of tuck this in. To me, go ahead. If that's the way you practice, practice that. It's not wrong. I'm more a fan of training responsiveness rather than brace, right? So as I move from 4-point to 3-point, what I mean by that is I've got 4 points touching the ground. So now I'm going to move to 3 points, and I'm going to push back, right? So I want my body to respond to that change in load. I don't want to brace anticipatory against what I'm about to do, because to me, that's not building strength. That's building grip and tension and brace. And that's not what I'm a fan of. I'm getting a bit passionate, getting a bit hot under the collar, even though I don't have a collar on. Okay, so that's where I want you to really, really, really play here. Now, if you've got wrist issues or elbow issues, don't do this. I'm not even going to show you a modification, because I've done training for 12 or 11 or 10 weeks already around how not to have that, okay? So if that's what you're developing, then this is not the practice for you, okay? And if you need some help privately, then send me a message. Okay, So we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this. All right, lovely. Now, I'm going to add a bonus here. I wasn't going to include this, but you could, is that you could do something like this. So this is bonus 4A, is that you could do something like this, right? So you're bringing one leg back, one arm forward. You could do something like that. So you could do that whole sequence of pointer of bringing one arm back and one arm forward. But again, you've got to make sure that you've got the ability to do the range in those other, without the load, okay? All right, so now we're going to come back onto the floor. Now this one's sort of fun, I think. You might not agree. But we're going to do the movement where you're on your back and you're taking yourself into a twist. Yeah? But we're going to do this against load. Now there's two ways that you can do this twist without load. One is you can bring the leg across first, and then you can take yourself into a twist. Yeah? So this way it would look like leg up, cross, and twist. Or you can leave the leg bone in the hip socket and don't change the angle of this leg bone in the hip socket. Then you drive the movement from your torso. Shoulder still stays on the ground. So with the Theraband, we're going to play with keeping that leg bone in the hip socket at the same angle. So we're going to take the strap around the leg. Try to, again, make it thick enough so it catches enough of the leg. And then I'm going to pull. See, the strap is coming away from me here. Now I'm going to pull the strap so my arm on the other side is on the ground. And now, keeping this hip in the exact same space, I'm going to drive that movement into a twist. Okay, so if I angle it this way, my arm is there, and I take that into a twist. Okay, let me flip over quickly so you can see it from the other angle. So if my arms are over here, I'm getting wrapped up into Theraband Wonder. My arms are here. I take the twist like this. Okay, now, here's what's really interesting. As you're playing around with this, I want you to notice where you tend to break in your movement. This is really important because just like before you loaded weight into the motion, like so the previous 11 weeks, if you've been following me, is you're deviating or compensating, right? You're deviating the planes. So the movement here is primarily a twist or a rotation. So I want you to notice, do you want to arch your back? If you want to arch your back, that's a deviation out of the plane. That's compensation. Now, typically what people will do is they'll say, okay, I better not do that because that's what my tendency is. So I'm going to pull everything together and flex through my spine and flatten my back. But that's not improving your strength. That's just improving your compensation. So watch that you're not looking at this like, oh, this is more load, so I've got to do all these other things. No, do everything you've been doing up until this point, and we're just adding load. And just notice where you want to compensate. Notice if you want to use your jaw. Notice if you want to use your eyes. Notice if you want to use your feet. Notice if you're gripping and white knuckling the Theraband. Notice if you're arching your back. Notice if you want to flatten through your spine. Notice all of your tendencies showing up because that's the whole point. We're adding greater load. We're adding greater load. So because we're adding greater load, we need to pay attention to where our tendencies are to break down the movement, right? Because a lot of people feel like when they've got the general moving pieces, that is a free-for-all. It's not. Because you've added more load, now things can break down. So you've got to pay as much attention to when you're adding Theraband load as you were when you were just playing around with movement with me over the past number of weeks, okay? Same thing will apply when we work with chin-ups because we're working on that program right now. Same thing will apply when you work with deadlifts. Same thing will apply when you add sprinting into your running. Same thing will apply when you're riding up hills on your bike. Same everything. So the thing is I want you to take what you were aware of, just add load and notice where things happen. Notice where you break down the movement. Notice where you get bracy. Notice your tendencies. When you can do that, we can take all of that. I want you to get that if that's starting to happen, it doesn't mean you're failing. What it means is you're actually getting it. It means that you're getting it. Yeah? It means that you're getting it. Okay? All right. So let's go through these again. The first one was ankle to knee, right? Then we added a twist. Then we took the arms overhead. Then we went into plank, bringing our leg back, and then we went into a twist. Those were 5 ways, plus a bonus, of using a Theraband. I hope you enjoy it. Explore it. Have fun with it. If there's questions, let me know. And there'll be more coming down the pipe. Here is to making strength being easy. See you tomorrow morning.